Folk radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Good evening. Fade to Black is spoke radio for the masses. Yeah, man. Today's Tuesday, September 18th, 2018. 265 days into the new year, just 100 days left. And as always, we are live from a bunker somewhere in the middle of beautiful downtown Burbank, California. And I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south. Far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the Planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? How you doing? Yeah. I got to tell you, last night that conversation with Linda Moulton Howe was right up there, right? I don't know how many times she's been on Fade to Black or how many opportunities I've had to just sit down and talk with her over the years. But last night might have topped them all, right? And I go back, I think about so many years ago when we had her on for Thanksgiving. And we talked about her career and so forth. How great that was. Because, we talked a little bit about, UFOs and ET and we did a little bit of that in her documentaries and stuff. A little bit, but the show was about her and how emotional that was, for us, for you, myself, and for her. And, that was great. But last night, man, what a great conversation. So how does one top that? Well, it's easy. You have a special guest like Freeman. That's what you do. We've got Freeman here tonight. And tonight we're talking the Space War News. Now, Freeman put up the links for Space War News, a part of FreemanTV.com. And the links are up there. And in Twitter, and I'll pop them up again at some point. But Space War News. Okay, so that's what we're going to do tonight. I was going through his stories and headlines. I'm telling you, man, Freeman is the best, and I just can't wait to get him on here and get to this conversation. So that's what we're going to do tonight. Be prepared. It's going to be great. There's a lot to discuss, and we're going to do all of it Freeman style. Tomorrow night, right here, Clifford Stone is back. It's been too long. And we are going to discuss disclosure, Clifford Stone style. Clifford sent me 8 different sets of documents today concerning disclosure, all Freedom of Information Act stuff. And he has got one of the best, greatest document collections on planet Earth. And man, whoa, he's got a house full of stuff. So I got literally 8 sets of documents today, not in 8 separate emails, long. So that's tomorrow night. Then what do we do? Wow, what a week on the show. And then Thursday night, John Rappaport's going to be here with us, No More Fake Newsroom Live, and we'll have open lines all night long. I cannot wait for Thursday night this week. Friday, I'm off. Saturday, I'm over hosting Coast to Coast AM, and my guest is, should I leak it? You know what? I'll leak it if you tell me to leak it in Twitter. Do we respect Coast to Coast AM's website that has not announced who the guests are? Or do I just leak it? What if George is listening right now? Oh, man. George, would I get in trouble for that? He's probably listening, and I will get... I got another email from Clifford. All right, now it's part 9. Part 9. George, shoot me an email if you're listening. Can I leak? Everybody's telling me to leak, George. I mean, do I bow to the pressure of the Fader knots? Oh, man. All right. You know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do it. My guest is Jason Louv. Don't leak it. Oh, it's too late. Don't get fired. You guys are funny. Jason Louv will be my guest over at Coast to Coast. And we are going to be discussing some. Jimmy, do you have a show to do? I have no idea what Rita's saying. I'm live right now. Obviously, Rita is not listening to the show. So there you go. Okay, Jason Louv, and we are going to be talking about us today on this planet, and how corporations control us and what we can do to get uncontrolled, our privacy issues as well, and how we can deal with that, and how corporations control us through commercials and advertising, and how it has turned into a big brother society, and what we can do to rise up, Bob Marley style. And that's what we're going to be doing on Saturday night over at Coast to Coast. Next week on Fade to Black, we have a huge week lined up with all first-time guests. And the thing is, the way that we've set this up next week, we are going very, very mainstream next week. We're bringing on some very, very huge guest journalists and researchers out there that are in the mainstream. And wait till you see what we've got lined up. It's just extraordinary. And sometimes with our community, one of the things that I really like to do is I like to talk to others that are outside of our community and how they look at us. And that's what we're going to do next week, because this community gets an awful lot of respect out there, more than you would think. And there are more out there in the mainstream that really appreciate what we do here. And you're going to find out about that next week. It's going to be absolutely amazing. And we'll get everything up as soon as we can. Crazy week on social media, and we'll be talking to Freeman about that in just a little bit. But when we look at not only Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and what's going on out there, it's the censorship side for sure, but there's also a lot of really good information that does still get through out there, and our community depends on that. Of course, we have On Stellar. And one of the things that On Stellar has proven over the last 2 months very solidly is the news is breaking there first. And that's pretty fun for me. I don't know who is out there in the mainstream that is over at On Stellar that is poking around. I certainly post my stuff, and I direct people back to On Stellar all the time. And there are a lot of the mainstream journalists out there that follow the show and follow me on Twitter and, of course, Facebook. And then things get shared and retweeted and reposted. And that stuff has been funneling back to On Stellar. And I really, really dig that. So that's the thing. We're going to be talking about that tonight because Freeman has been at the very front of the internet, of blogging, writing, YouTube, video creation, and multimedia since the dawn of the internet. So we're going to be talking about all of that tonight and putting it all around the space wars. And you've got to go check that out. The links are up at jimmychurchradio.com. You can follow me on Twitter at jchurchradio. Hashtag F2B is the sandbox where we hang out all night on Twitter in real time. And if you want to come over and join the conversation, you can do that right there. Hashtag F2B. Hashtag F2B2. F2B2. Hashtag F2BQ is Fade to Black questions. You can post all of your ideas right there. All right, let's get the show cracking. Email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. Breaking news. Now, check this out. Audi, today, the car company, Audi, staged a global launch of a new electric sport utility vehicle right here in the United States, the home turf of Tesla, and highlighted a deal that they've struck with Amazon to make recharging easier. And it's a good-looking, I'm going to say it right now, it doesn't look like an electric car. It's the one thing when it comes to those electric cars, that BMW, that thing is that i3, whatever it is, ugly, right? Prius, ugly. Leaf, ugly, right? Volt, ugly. I don't know why they can't make an electric car look cool. Teslas are okay. All right? I'll give them that. They are okay. But Audi's new SUV was launched today, and it's called the e-tron. And it will be offered in the United States next year. It's a 2019 model for $75,795 before a $7,500 tax credit. Audi is trying to grab that market share from Tesla, which pretty much has been left to itself. And this was extraordinary. And to see this launch today, and you need to go and look at the pictures too. It's called the e-tron. Pretty incredible. And while I'm talking about, little musky around here right now, yesterday, SpaceX announced its first moon voyage customer. That's right. And it will be Yusaku Maezawa. Mr. Maezawa, a billionaire fashion entrepreneur, best known in the United States for his purchase in 2017 of a 1982 painting by Jean-Michel Basquiat for $110 million. Now, he's going to ride on the yet-to-be-built rocket known as the BFR, the Big Bleepin' Rocket. All right, it's called the BFR. On a trip, I'm not making that up, on a trip that would take 4 to 5 days, the rocket will not be ready for the trip until 2023 when the trip to the moon is scheduled. Yeah, nobody's flown on this thing yet. It hasn't even flown. And Musk is saying that it's still going to cost between $2 and $10 billion to develop. Now, Yusaku said that he is going to pay for 8 artists to go with him. Free ride. Makes you want to go apply, doesn't it? I mean, I wonder if Rita would let me do that. I should go. I should send Yusaku an email, see if I can get a ride on that. But anyway, he also said that he wants Musk to go with him, and Musk said, I'll think about it. It's not a bad idea. Well, there you go. All right. That was big news. Big news in the last 24 hours. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. Just $2 a month. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the podcast banner, and you can also become a Fade or Not by going over to our membership section on the site. We have an announcement that came up yesterday from River Moon Coffee, and they have a new, we have a new Fade to Black blend out, and it is superfood coffee. And you can go and read about that over at River Moon Coffee. You can go to the Fade to Black page and go and check that out and get yourself some. You can get it both ground and whole bean. But yes, it's coffee with superfood. Yeah, you don't have to eat anymore, apparently. It's a good thing I'm on a diet, right? There it is. I figured out my meal plan. That's right. Fade to Black from Orbit. I would do it. Could you imagine that? We could broadcast. They have 4G on the moon now. We can get an internet connection, a mobile hotspot. Yeah, let's get this show cracking. Happy birthday to today. James Marsden is 45 years old. Yeah, you know him as Cyclops in the X-Men films, right? I think he did 3. But he's really good in the new Westworld series on HBO. Happy birthday, James Marsden. On this day in history, OTD, 1975. Newspaper heiress and wanted fugitive Patty Hearst is captured in San Francisco in an apartment where she was arrested for armed robbery. And this happened a year and a half after she was kidnapped and held for ransom by the SLA. You remember that? The Symbionese Liberation Army. I'll never forget it. Remember the photographs of her security cameras holding the, was it like an Uzi? Right? Robbing a bank? Oh, man. I remember the ransom, too. They wanted, they said the Symbionese Liberation Army, they told Hearst that he had to, wasn't it like $2 million worth of food he had to give away to the homeless? And he did, right? And then they raised it. They wanted another $4 million. That's what my memory, I was probably, 10, 11 years old at the time. But that's what I remember. He had to give away free food. Fader fact, in 2013, an earthquake-proof church was constructed in Christchurch, New Zealand, using cardboard. That's right. And that's your Fader fact. 2013, earthquake-proof cardboard. Tonight, very special guest Freeman is here, and we are going to be talking about the Space Wars. That's right, the Space Wars. Tomorrow night, Clifford Stone is here. We're going to be talking disclosure all night. And apparently I don't have a choice because I have now got 100 pages of documents that I have to review before the show tomorrow. Really looking forward to that. Clifford Stone is here. Thursday night's another Fader night with open lines all night long. John Rappaport, of course, is going to be here with his No More Fake Newsroom Live. Now, in anticipation of Freeman on the show tonight discussing the Space Wars, I just wanted to make you think, because let me hit this River Moon coffee, if you don't mind. There's been a lot of talk over the last couple of decades about artificial intelligence. Now, certainly the first scary version, the real version of it was the HAL 9000 computer in Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey. Certainly my favorite film of all time. And yes, that is above The Godfather and Apocalypse Now and everything else, right? Even The Shining. 2001: A Space Odyssey. And we have made great strides, and the private, the military, and the gaming worlds are all really pushing the AI world forward as fast as they can. And when it comes to gaming, and you have to think about that, going back and you're playing a character and you're fighting somebody and you go to the boss monsters at the end of a level, and they just got smarter and smarter. Today it's pretty tough. The AI in the gaming world is getting really, really good, right? Well, I recently watched an amazing documentary about AI and the Chinese game Go. It was amazing. The documentary freaked me out. It's kind of scary, and it's a little sad at times because watching the reigning world Go champ get his butt kicked by a computer in South Korea, played live on TV with the media watching and commenting on every move. They had jumbotrons in downtown Seoul, and everybody's just in on this, watching it live. Every move they commented on and the strategy, and it was heartbreaking because dude got smacked around by a computer, right? And it says a lot about where we are today, but more so, it's about how much further we have to go. AI is almost here, but there are some big challenges before we can call it artificial intelligence. But there's always a but. But the AI fear is not anywhere close to being a reality. Let me explain why. It's like this. The game Go, like chess, it's just a game. You can program moves. You can program past games, future moves in the tens of thousands, right? And you can implement some computer learning into the software and come up with a pretty good challenge for some of the best human players. You can do this. We know this today. And as complex as this may seem, it's actually pretty easy. And it's really easy compared to what is involved in actual AI that is human-like, right? Like us. That's artificial intelligence. Now, let's say that we finally crack the human brain / computer interface, right? DARPA has probably already done this, but officially it hasn't been done or perfected yet. But let's say that we finally crack it and we get that interface built and memories and data are safely transferred to a computer's memory and stored. Now think about this for a second. Everything inside of your brain, all that you have forgotten and remembered is now ones and zeros. That, how can I say this? That's the easy part. Sure, it's huge amounts of data, but it's still just data. What would complete the mission is the actual you. Yeah. Today, the scientific community is trying to figure this part out. And what we really don't understand is what makes us us. Our minds, our personalities, what makes us different, our soul. So the download may be done onto a hard drive, but you're not going to be there. Your memories can be accessed just like any other data, but the you won't be there to enjoy it or make decisions based on what makes you, you. I need you to think about this for a second. When the soul gets recorded and defined, then we truly have something to be scared about. That is true artificial intelligence. I know that I've talked about many times on this show. Would I do it? Would I, if I could, if somebody came to me and said, hey, you want to live in a virtual world? Do you want to be downloaded onto a hard drive? I love the movie Tron. I love the idea about it. That is ARAI at a whole nother level. And would I do it? The movie's a fascinating look into what it would be for you to go and live on a chip. You don't have a body. You're actually leaving yours, right? And you're in this artificial world where your soul, the things that make you you, laughter, sadness, decisions, exist in this AI, right? But there's problems with that. Software engineers may be able to write a program that mimics someone, right? But it would be very simple to do that. But it would be very, 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 very basic, because the true complexity and the hugeness of our soul, our consciousness, is way beyond that type of code writing. And that type of code writing would involve trillions and trillions of lines of code. And you would need something different and unique for every individual. The very details that make us who we are. The only way to make this a reality is to be able to record that code automatically, which right now is impossible because we can't even define what it is or where it is. Think about that. And I'm talking about the soul, consciousness. This is the part of the ET extraterrestrial question that should really freak us out. Because a species that is thousands or millions of years more advanced than ourselves would have figured all of this out. How to transfer everything to a machine, a cyborg, or a clone. Something almost immortal. When we finally cross this frontier and we travel to the stars, the beings that ET will meet out there won't be us. But they will meet our minds. They will meet our souls, uploaded into RoboCop. And that is artificial intelligence. And we are a long, long ways away from that. When we figure out it's one thing to get data out of our brains and through a computer interface and record it onto a hard drive, memories. That's one thing. But us recording our soul and getting that into a computer, that's a whole nother thing. Think about that. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. And tonight we're going to discuss all of this with Freeman with the Space Wars. And if you haven't checked it out, the links are right there at jimmychurchradio.com. Tomorrow night, Clifford Stone is here. You're not going to want to miss that. We're going to discuss disclosure all night long. Thursday night is Fader Night with John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom, followed by Open Lines all night long. Friday, I'm off. Saturday, Coast to Coast AM. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at jchurchradio. Email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. You can follow Freeman at Freeman TV on Twitter. I'll be right back with Freeman right after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on jimmychurchradio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at jimmychurchradio.com.
Times are changing. The circus of politics, healthcare's low standards and high prices, and let's not forget food quality. What to do? Arm yourself with Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. In a world of chemical imbalance and poor air and water quality, it's time you make a move. Log on to getthetea.com and stock up on organic non-GMO supplements. Don't forget the tea. Cleansing your body never felt so good. And we have a brand new tea called Takedown Tea, which helps support healthy glucose. All natural body support so you can be at your best, naturally. All you have to do is log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. We're not a fad that comes and goes. We are the real deal. Join us and armor up. Getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Changing America's health one tea bag at a time.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Do you want to lose weight but have no idea where to begin? The Fast Start Diet, a 3-day weight loss plan, is the answer. 3 days of nutritionally balanced, calorie-restricted meals delivered right to your door. No shopping, no measuring, and no cooking. Everything is prepared for you and ready to eat at home or on the go. The Fast Start Diet has all the amazing benefits of intermittent fasting without starving. We've helped thousands of people who have struggled to reach their weight loss goals. Isn't it time we helped you? With the Fast Start Diet, you'll lose weight and feel great.
Find Fast Start Diet on Amazon or go to faststartdiet.com and use promo code TALK to get 10% off your first box. And as a special bonus, Fast Start will include their #1 rated Lipo3 appetite suppressant spray free with your order. This is Jimmy Church, and whatever your diet plans are, do what I did. Go to faststartdiet.com.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Freeman is here. Tomorrow night, Clifford Stone. Thursday night, John Rappaport, followed by Open Lines. Friday, I'm off. Saturday, I'm over at Coast to Coast AM. My guest will be Jason Louv. Tonight, it's Freeman. Freeman has been on the forefront of conspiracy theory for over 2 decades. He's an award-winning TV producer, radio talk show host, lecturer, an expert in the fields of the occult, trauma-based mind control, Illuminati symbolism, and ancient civilizations. And if you've never checked it out, you've got to see Aliens from Hell. It's banned from YouTube. You got to go to Freeman TV. Freeman has appeared on Howard Stern, HBO, the Discovery Channel, and the film Don Peyote with Dan Fogler and Anne Hathaway. And Rita and I watched that film last week, and I highly recommend it. It is truly the hero's journey, and brought to the screen once again. And we'll talk about that a little bit later tonight with Freeman. He graduated with honors in interdisciplinary studies. There's no such thing. And attended Kansas University, specializing in ancient architecture. Tonight, we're going to discuss the space wars and wherever this conversation is going to lead, the Freeman way. We're going to do all of that tonight. I'd like to welcome back to Fade to Black, Freeman. Freeman, interdisciplinary studies, is that a real thing?
It really is. Yeah, it was a course that was an honors course offered in Valencia Community College. It was a 2.5-year course that covered all your required courses. So once I went to university, I didn't have to take any of that regular stuff. I was already done with it all. We had 5 professors, a few hundred students, maybe 100 students. And It was amazing. It really was an introduction to the Club of Rome social engineering campaign, and I got all kinds of learning from there.
Yeah, see, that's what I would think it would be about. Okay.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, I just see the word discipline, and I just crack up, But I guess that's the way that my mind works. How you doing, man? It's been a while, and what's going on in your world?
Doing well. Just kind of settling in, really, trying to find my base ground. I've been traveling for 25 years and I finally have settled down. And so I'm kind of trying to get used to that, to be honest.
Well, and you survived the hurricane.
Yeah, it missed us, but I happened to be in D.C. the last weekend, so I ended up driving through it.
What were you doing in D.C.?
Visiting friends and just checking things out.
Checking out the architecture?
Oh, yeah. I always have a good time there.
I know. There's I didn't want to talk about Don Peyote so quick, but there's one scene where you and Fogler are looking at a piece of architecture. I don't know if it's a Mason temple or whatever it is, but
St. John's Cathedral is what that was.
Is that with the World Trade Center's bending, right?
Yep.
And
hit by a tidal wave.
Yeah, hit by a tidal wave, and I'm looking at that. I'm like, what else could that be? So anyway, we'll discuss that a little bit later. But that little snippet in the film was priceless, man. I mean, priceless. And then the cut back to Fogler's face as he's looking at it is just, but everybody needs to go check out that film if you haven't. Don Peyote. It's really great. Well, now lots has been going on, certainly so much over the I'm gonna say 6 months, and since you started coming on this program, which we're talking, you've been, I don't know how many times, but certainly 4 or 5 years now you've been on Fade to Black, and the things that we were talking about so many years ago, not only your views and your warnings, but mine and this audience and the community in general, it all came to pass. Everything that we were talking about, which is information on the internet or government snooping or government control or fake news or the media, all of that stuff, all of it came to pass, Freeman. When are they going to start stepping up and taking notice of the work that you've done over the years?
Yeah, I've often wondered that. When is everybody going to take notice? I feel like the Rodney Dangerfield of conspiracy. No, maybe the Rick Nielsen. How about that? I'm the Rick Nielsen of conspiracy.
I'll go with Rick Nielsen. Leslie Nielsen. Let's do that.
Oh, no. We're not going that far. No. Seriously, it's amazing to watch. I mean, back when I started with the Access Television show, there was no Google, there was no anything. We were just starting to formulate this whole situation. And, when I made corporate logos and their occult meanings, I had to go photograph the corporate logos. There wasn't any Google search for me to go and just grab images and throw into my video, and everything was different. We had research was different. The way we came across information was different. And it was hard-won knowledge. You had to go read the books, get the bibliography, go and find the other resources, go down, check your microfiche, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And now everybody has an opinion. Everything's blown up. But, something like the occult meaning of corporate logos, you look at it now and it's like common knowledge. It's obvious to everybody. And, this was something that just started and they don't really realize that this science is very young and the people that are thinking it up are still talking about it. So, yeah, I find it very intriguing how it has all exploded. The Pedagate and the Vatican and, just everything. Ancient civilizations rising to the surface, trauma-based mind control rising to the surface.
Deep
maybe
state.
Even people are starting to believe in chemtrails. I'm not sure.
I know, and which it's oddly enough, I don't see chemtrails in the skies like I did, as recently as last year. But I want to talk about Alex Jones for a second.
Okay.
You've known him and have been around him since he was just a local guy in Austin, right? Now, the First Amendment and what is going on right now, not only with him and his network, but of course Twitter and Facebook and Apple have all YouTube. Have all banned him, and he talked and warned us about this. Now, it doesn't matter if you are an Alex Jones fan or not. It doesn't matter if you believe him or not. It is a question of, does he deserve a voice just like anybody else deserves a voice? And then we have the complications of the First Amendment and privately owned and held companies that aren't. The First Amendment applies to government institution and government streets, and that's what the writers of all of that intended it for. They didn't know about the internet, right? They didn't know about television and things today that we have. So we're in this gray area here, but he's certainly warned about it. And the other part of Alex that I need your comment on is he's changed. It appears to me that he's moved into another version of himself. The Alex Jones that you see today, is that the guy that you met originally on public access television back in Austin?
Hardly recognize the guy, seriously. The beard and all.
Right.
We think back to when Trump was trying to block people on Twitter, and was it the Supreme Court? One of the high courts announced that it was our constitutional right to be able to troll the president, and that he was not allowed, that it was a free speech issue, that Trump's not allowed to block people on Twitter. Right. So they told us there that it was a public forum, that it was constitutionally sanctified, and yet this all happens to Alex. Now, Facebook, we all know it's CIA book. I mean, come on now. I've tried making social networks. Ain't nobody paying me. I kept them like, where's Mark Zuckerberg getting his money to run this thing, right?
Right.
We know that there's only one Facebook. There's only one Twitter. There's a reason. There's only one Skype. There's only one PayPal. There should be multitudes of these services for everyone, but yet there's only these ones. And then they can come together and just ghost you and just shut you down, shut down your PayPal. I mean, that happened to Red Ice. It's happened to some other people, just to have your PayPal shut down. I mean, that's just turning off your income. If this isn't a sign of the future, then you guys aren't paying attention, So, yeah, Alex, is the avant-garde of this very situation of being able to just, what did they call it in 1984 when they just erased you from existence?
Right. Well, see, now, did he do it to himself, in that if you are going to dance with the big boys, you still at some point have to play within the rules, and the rules that others define for you. If you're going to be on Facebook, then there's Facebook rules that apply to everybody. Did he just dance outside of that line?
And some pigs are more equal than others,
That's right. No, that's very true. And see, the thing is, what defines a community, a community rule, and the breaking of that, and the community strike that you get from doing that, is not out there for the public to even see. You don't know what's being discussed. You're just given the strike, or you're removed. You don't have an appeals court. You can't go with an attorney and go and fight your case. It's just done. And that's the other dark part about this. I'm not so sure what Alex ever did, and let's be clear here. I'm not even sure if Alex believes what he is saying. Okay, it's entertainment,
right?
Right. Okay, well, and so what is wrong with that? Do you remember Wally George? Do you remember Wally George?
No.
Okay, after the show tonight, there's your homework assignment, Freeman. Just go on YouTube, look up Wally George, and Wally George had a community access program that ended up going national back in the 80s here in Los Angeles. It was done out of Orange County. Wally George pushed it. He was everything that Alex Jones wants to be. Right? I mean, way to the edge. Nobody said a thing. We laughed about it. I'm not sure if Wally believed the stuff that he was saying, but he had a devoted, rabid audience, and it was fun. And we look forward to Wally George on UHF, whatever channel he was on. And there was nothing wrong with it. And I don't see anything different with what Alex Jones is saying today. And I don't understand the shutdown. And that's where I think everybody should have a certain amount of rights. Or do you have to play within the rules? And he broke the rules, and he's paying for it. I don't know.
We don't even know that you broke the rules. See, I was in the same boat. So this all kind of festered up out of Jim Fetzer and the whole Sandy Hook situation. And I had Jim on my program. And so 3 years later, they come and gave me 2 community strikes on these videos on Sandy Hook and Crisis Actors, the 2 things you can't talk about anymore. And I received the strikes, but I didn't get the 3rd strike. So I didn't fall like the others. I managed to just squeak by. But what I saw was there is a mirror YouTube channel also called Freeman TV. Somebody has taken all my videos and re-uploaded them to another channel. I don't bitch about it, because I don't really care. I like that the information is out there. Right. Well, the videos that I received community strikes for and almost was taken down. I have the longest running talk show on YouTube, okay? And they almost took me down. And those videos that offended the community are still on that mirror channel from the nobody.
It doesn't make sense
right now.
No, it happens all the time with me too. We do 2 versions of the show that get uploaded every day to YouTube. One with video. Hello, everybody. I'll wave at the live feed, and then the next day will be an audio only version of it without the video. Okay, and it just one is live, and one is uploaded the next day. One will get a strike and one will not. It's the same show.
Yes.
It's the same show. And I'm up against it every day. I got to go and fight it every day. I've got guys that, manage my channel, and they'll go and run the appeal and eventually get removed. But it happens every single day on this program. Every day. Every day. One of the 2 will get a strike.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you just have no one to call, no recourse, and that's what leads to craziness like that lady that walked into YouTube with a gun.
That's right.
And,
that's right. That's right. You never
demonetized.
Know. And going back to Alex Jones really quick, when I had asked you, has he changed? Certainly physically he has changed. But what about his message? Has he gotten, or has he always been like he is right now?
Okay, I honestly believe I had a huge influence on Alex Jones because people used to tell him all the time, I wish you were more like Freeman. And he started getting my guests. He started talking about clockwork elves, DMT, and all that stuff. I kind of have a feeling that was my fault. Because he did get a lot of that from me, and he has a pretty big ego, and people telling him this stuff, it probably upset him, and he started going off the deep end. But he wasn't ready for it. But, you do a show like this every day of the week, and it'll drive you crazy. You go through a divorce, lose your house, lose your family, lose everything. I mean, I shut down for a time, but he didn't. So I think he broke, I think he went too far. He always put his energy out there. And when he quit smoking, he was crying on the air all the time. He never backed off at all. But his message, honestly, I haven't followed him enough to really know. I find him as infotainment on a lot of levels. And I always felt that he was the improper solution to our problem. So I've always said that from day one, that this is not the reaction, the anger, this type of reaction to the bullet points is just not the right way to go about this. Education, once we start to understand things, there's many layers to get through before you can be offended yet, because you don't even know who you're offended with yet.
Well, exactly. And his message, my message, your message, and others about fake news and the way that the media controls all of us, and we really have to run everything through a filter, constantly trying to get to the real nuggets of truth. That's always been his message, and yours and mine. And sure enough, and talking about the deep state and who's running the world and the Illuminati and secret societies, now it's all come to pass. We've got President Trump in office bringing up things like the deep state and draining the swamp, and his association not only to Alex Jones, but other conspiracy type ideas. We've got a conspiracy believing president now, and I'm almost not comfortable with it, where you got to be careful what you wish for. But he was correct. Trump was right. He was right about the fake news. He was right about a lot of the media out there. He's right about the deep state and what is controlling us, and the people that are out there pushing not only him around but others in Washington. This is all really happening, and this has been part of Alex Jones and my message for a very long time, and now here we are. Like I said, these things are coming to pass in front of us, not only for our community, Freeman, but for the rest of the world to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And when everybody's sitting around going, "Oh, I'm so glad they took him down," they're just not seeing the picture at all. It's
how so?
Well, in the same way, when I was trying to explain the Anna Nicole story and the satanic ritual abuse involved, people would be, "Oh, I'm glad the bitch is dead." I mean, I'm sorry, but that's what they would say. Mm-hmm. And it's like, you're missing the whole puzzle here. It's not about Alex Jones. It's not about Anna Nicole. It's about this situation. I mean, to have all these corporations that seem to be disparate, iTunes, Twitter, Facebook, all of that, to come together and ban a single person. I mean, that's a huge red flag. These are supposed to be separate companies. They're supposed to not, it's our constitutional right to use this. No?
What you mean? Are you saying that it wasn't a coincidence when they did it all on the same day?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I mean, I just thought it was the luck of the draw. There's no
Shall we
way
say
that
conspiracy.
Yeah, there's no way that they were talking to each other, right?
Yeah,
and the media who reported on this pretty extensively for somebody that, air quotes, right? He's a podcaster. He's an internet, right, type of guy, conspiracy guy. They sure did give it a lot of attention. But the one thing that they should have brought up is, hey, did they conspire together? Were they on the phone? Did they get together? Were they all on Skype? Right?
Yeah, why weren't they asking this?
Yes, but nobody said a thing about that.
Exactly.
I just don't understand it. And the other thing that for me that surfaced rather quickly, seemingly out of nowhere, was Donald Trump and the creation of the Space Force, where we have been inside of this community talking about this for a very, very long time, that it's already existed in one black program or another. We can talk about any other conspiracy theories that would be applied to the secret space program. But then this gets announced by Trump, something that you have been talking about forever.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do separate the two things between the Space Force and the secret space program. These are, in my book, completely separate topics. So that's where a lot of people just suddenly venture off into the secret space program and talk about Aurora anti-gravitic craft. And when we're not talking about that when we're talking about a Space Force, not at all. And it has been quite some time. I mean, I think it was Medvedev that was announcing that we were using meteor weapons. That's space war, that's Space Force. Milosevic accusing us of using HARP to cause earthquakes and floods in the ionosphere. So again, that's a space-based sort of situation. The X-37B launching, nobody seemed to care that the military shot up a robotic space plane that orbits the planet for years and years, and no one knows what it's doing. Now, when I started watching this about 2009, when they were announcing they were going to bomb the moon, because that to me it was it was a big problem because they had already bombed the moon. India had already used the Chandrayaan satellite to find water on the moon. And the Japanese, I can't remember the name of that satellite, they had already crashed into the moon to test under the surface. So the Lacrosse mission, the American mission to crash a satellite and a rocket into the moon was unnecessary. So what was the point? Well, you find that HARP and other ionospheric heaters are capable of tomography. That's like the technology they used in Jurassic Park to see the dinosaurs under the ground. And so you strike it with something, and then you can see inside of it using these frequencies, right? What did they do? They collided a rocket into the moon and used tomography to see inside. Wasn't too much longer after that, they sent that Marsis program up to the Phobos to try and see inside of it. And they announced that they had seen inside of Phobos and that it was hollow. Now, we've been in a battle for Phobos forever. Every single satellite that anyone has ever sent to Phobos has vanished, right? Even one reportedly sending back a photograph of a 14-mile-long cigar-shaped craft. And this was reported by the Russian Space Agency, not by conspiracy theorists.
That's right.
And when they went in, I've
got to jump in. I've got to take a break. I have seen the alleged image, the last image of the Russian satellite that it captured of this craft. Those real images exist somewhere because so many in the Russian Space Agency has talked about it over the years. But that was the last thing that craft saw, was this ginormous alien craft that came in and interrupted, once again, us trying to figure out what's going on Phobos. There's a monolith there. There's a beautiful monolith that Buzz Aldrin's been talking about for years, and the photographs of it are incredible. Our guest tonight is Freeman. I got to take a quick break. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow Freeman at Freeman TV on Twitter. When we come back, we will continue our discussion of space war news. This is Fade to Black. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Folks, this is very important information. What's to be said about CBD? AncientLifeOil.com. Our CBD is made from hemp and has 0.003 THC, which means this wonderful product won't get you high, no matter what amount you take. What does CBD do for the body? My hands are tied. But you can Google CBD benefits and be astounded. When you're finished reading, you'll want to log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com and purchase. Life is good when you feel good. People are tired of pain. People are asking for non-GMO organic products to help them with you fill in the blank. Legal in 49 states, and again, our CBD is made from hemp. Ancient Life Oil is about helping people one by one by one. If you wonder how good the product is, the CEO takes it every day without miss. AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Have a great day.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. Yes. We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And I'm Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. And you're listening to Jimmy Church. The Revolution.
Reclaim your active lifestyle with Angioprim. Angioprim is the original liquid oral chelation supplement. Chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in your veins and arteries that can cause blockages. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in Angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. Find out more. Go to angioprim.com. Talk to a trained consultant by calling Angioprim toll-free 877-882-7221.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hey, it's Grace. Can we talk about something serious for a minute? Your age. Getting old has its perks. But remember, being a few years younger, you know, your hair was thicker, you didn't have so many wrinkles, that extra weight wasn't haunting you, and you just felt better. Well, we can't turn back the clocks and go back 10 or 15 years, but you can start feeling and looking 10 or 15 years younger with Nature's Youth RSF. It's a doctor-formulated daily supplement that helps your body maintain its peak performance and fight the aging process. Imagine sleeping better, looking better, and feeling better. See how Nature's Youth RSF has helped thousands of people just like you at nature'syouth.com. nature'syouth.com. Imagine how it will feel when your family and friends are asking you what you did to look so good. Your secret will be Nature's Youth RSF. It's time to start looking better and feeling better. Learn more and order your Nature's Youth RSF at nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only use night vision goggles from Bearing Optics. You can see your very own green chrome balls today by clicking on their banner at jimmychurchradio.com.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Hashtag F2B is the sandbox. We'll bust through a few thousand tweets tonight right there. You can follow Freeman at Freeman TV on Twitter. He's a big social media guy. He's been doing it since the beginning. Freeman, I want to go back to a comment you made about the X-37B, and which is, I had said that if you want an example of a secret space program, this is a couple of years before the Space Force was announced, but is the X-37B. You know, like you said, it's going up there for 2 years at a time. There's that part of it, but it's the logistics behind the X-37B, the engineers, the scientists, the pilots that are, flying it, and, of course, the research that is tied into it. It's all military. And it's a secret space program. This is something that the public knows nothing about, and it's got to be huge. There must be thousands of people involved in the X-37B, and if that is going on, there's no telling about the real secret stuff. That's what they're letting us know about. So isn't that by definition a secret space program?
Yeah, except for they can't hide the launches, so I broadcast them all live on my website all the time.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that. Yeah, and you're right about that. What do you think they're doing with the X-37B?
Oh, it's a good question. There's a lot of satellite warfare going on. It was China that launched a rocket up to take out one of their own satellites, and this kind of triggered a spark in everybody's behinds that we need something up there to be able to control satellites, take on this situation and dominate in the space. And so I think it's more of that type of scenario with the X-37B, because it's a robot. There's no one in it, just like a Robonaut up on the International Space Station. It's a telepresence robot.
Yeah. And the Space Force, the announcement of that, the first thing that anybody is going to naturally gravitate towards is some type of ET connection. I mean, what is it that we need a Space Force for unless we need to defend planet Earth from something? Now, that's where everybody's going to go first. They're not going to think about shooting other satellites out of the sky.
Or China's military space station.
Right. Or Russia or whatever. Yeah, absolutely. But what do you think the Space Force is intended for?
Well, it's been an interesting cycle as Obama had brought out the Constellation program, and we were going to go back to the moon, if everybody remembers that.
Right.
Constellation was supposed to take us back to the moon. Suddenly this was canceled and the Ares program started, and Ares, of course, is the god of war, and they started launching up the Ares 1X and starting to get ready there. Then I saw as the NASA astronauts began testing inside of the SpaceX capsules, the Dragons and such. And so at that moment, I knew that we were about to shut down the public access of space and open up the military access of space and switch everything around. So its purpose to me is, who controls the moon controls the Earth. And this is the situation that we're in. There was a lot of talk back with Medvedev and Obama when they were putting up the missile defensive shield. And when you're looking at a situation where we're talking about mutual destruction and therefore no destruction, since one can blow up the other and the other blow back. But if you have a missile defensive shield, then suddenly you're outside of that. And there was actually a moment when they were testing HARP as the missile defensive shield, and a Russian rocket exploded in the atmosphere. I watched it go from one side of the horizon to the other. It looked like the Empire State Building burning in the atmosphere, just going from one side to the other. Strangely, I was on my way to go to visit a $2 million home inside of a missile silo on that day. Everybody on the highway pulled over to watch this fire in the sky. But it's situations like that as we start to dominate on the moon. We start to set up the situation where we can control the planet from space. Elon Musk is about to launch this whole new internet satellite array. And when you watch how many SpaceX are going up there and how many satellites and CubeSats and all the things that are going up there, you start to realize that that's where the domination comes in. I mean, they got just launched satellites that are capable of tracking every animal on the planet, things of this nature. That's what I see the Space Force as.
Now, there's one, well, there's many, but there's one basic thing today that gets lost in all of this smoke. One thing, that no astronaut has left Earth's orbit since the last Apollo mission. And now nobody's been back to the moon. And what I find, Russia hasn't tried it. China hasn't tried it. Nobody has made any attempt to do what we clearly were on a path for in the 60s, which we got to the moon apparently fairly easily and fairly quickly, and then everything just stopped. No other country, not only the United States, but nobody from Earth has been back to the moon. Why?
Right. Yeah, it's a huge question, isn't it? That's the one that we need answered. We're either living in a dome on a flat plane, or the Van Allen belt is not passable, and everybody's been lying all along. But at the same time, I can't sit here and watch all these rockets launch and not think something's up. I don't think they're just dumping them into the ocean just to put on a big show. But at the same time, the space station, it's only 180 miles up. We're not talking the moon.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it's obvious that what we saw with the moon, obviously it wasn't the truth, and why we haven't gone back and why so much interest in what's inside and what's going on in Phobos and what's going on Mars. This is all just really increased. And, now we got to battle with the flat earthers and try to prove that space still exists and that this is a topic still worth talking about.
Were we warned not to go back to the moon? And let me just ask you that question first. Did we see something there? Did we make contact?
How do I know? I don't know these things. I mean, I've seen the flag that Buzz Aldrin set up Tranquility Freemasonic Lodge on the moon at the Temple of the 33rd. And again, I sit there and I wonder, would they just do this for show? Why bother displaying the Supreme Council flag that went to the moon if it didn't happen? Or, why keep up this? Because nobody knew the Supreme Council flag was on the moon. That's not like common knowledge. So why put up the pretense? Why have it at the Supreme Council in DC and show it off all the time? So, I don't have answers to these questions. These questions are the ones that we want to keep seeking.
Well, when NASA made the blunder during a press conference a couple of years ago, one of the engineers said, "Well, once we figure out how to get through the Van Allen belt, we'll." And I was like, "Wait a minute! Did he just say that?" Right, and that was just a couple of years ago, and they tried to backpedal on that, but clearly, if we take the Apollo missions at face value, and I leave it up to the audience to figure out if we went to the moon or not, or if it was a hoax or whatever. That's for them to try to figure out. All I do is present the ideas, but if we take the Apollo missions at face value. Certainly, with that technology that we had back in the 60s, we figured out how to survive going to the moon and back. And that includes the radiation from the Van Allen belt and the heat of the sun and air conditioning in spacesuits and living in the shade or the sun on the moon. These are all drastic temperature and open radiation and no micrometeorites, right? All of that we seem to have licked, and we figured that out. But then we just suddenly stopped, and no other country, that's the point that needs to be made. Nobody else decided to go to the moon, and you said it yourself. Whoever, dominates the moon is going to control everything, but nobody has taken a stab at it, or have they? That's the thing.
Yeah, that is, that's beyond me. I'm still trying to convince people that we're sending Doritos commercials to Ursa Major.
Right. And now, okay, so that's a great segue, because as all of this continues, not only with what SpaceX is doing, we have rockets taking off from a spaceport nearly every single day. I look at the rocket launch schedule, and it goes on all month long, all year long. Somewhere around this planet, there's a rocket taking off. One probably took off today. So that all of that still continues. The question for everybody is what is the future of all of this? Why haven't we got a we don't even have a way to get our own astronauts to the ISS, and it's a puzzling thing for me. And also, we don't even build our own motors anymore. We have to get those from Russia, and that's the other. It's just like none of it makes any sense.
Yeah, everything is launched from Kazakhstan. And, because of Borat, people think it's a bunch of goat herders, but Kazakhstan hosts some of the most sophisticated cities on the planet, like Astana. And, they're absolutely, that our ticket to the space station. Now, Elon Musk is starting to put people into his rockets, but they haven't done that yet, as far as I know. They haven't yet done the human trial. I think they were just working on it. I don't know whether it launched. I think I would have heard if they launched humans.
Well, you have another headline here that I wanted to address, and that is the Space Force takes down the space fence. Asteroid defense weakened on September 1st.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Meteor weapons has been something that I've been tracking for some time, and the idea of shutting down the near-Earth orbital detection system is kind of a strange thing. But the idea of meteor weapons has been a long time study. I think even Richard Hoagland talked about it when they turned on HAARP, and that meteor went straight over HAARP and caused an earthquake and a sonic boom in Anchorage, Alaska. Everybody thought it was the end of the world. It was all over the news. And then, we've been watching these strange bolides come in with green fireballs, but everybody's reporting there's no rock associated with these things until they actually classified incoming fireballs as secret. You can find this in my Space War News section, where they suddenly classified incoming fireballs as secret. And this is before the one in Russia that, we're talking 2009 when this was going down.
Right.
So that's something that I watch a lot, is this concept, because at one point when everybody was really starting to question, all the scientists, the astronomers were like, well, you know what, we're not seeing bolides, we're not seeing rocks in these fireballs. And it just so happened this coincided with a mysterious explosion in space right after the launch of the X-37B, which was filmed by a amateur astronomer. And then these fireballs started coming in, and then suddenly somebody at the University of Pennsylvania that was in charge of all this, I wish I had this documented, found one in his backyard and settled the problem there. Okay, look, there are bolides. All of a sudden the guy who was put in charge of it falls in his yard, right? This kind of stuff is crazy. But there's so many levels and layers to this, because when you start getting to space, you're into dark matter, you're into antimatter, you're into just whole new levels of things. And right now, of course, I always flash back to 5/5/2000. This was my first end of the world scenario, when all the planets were going to align, or did align, on the other side of the sun, and we were on this side all alone. And this gets into the concept of cyclical catastrophes, and that's something that people really need to be thinking about more and more, is, what could cause a crustal shift? What could cause a global catastrophe like the flood reported in the Bible, and even the fall of Atlantis, things of these, the cyclical catastrophes.
Yes.
The sun, is where this situation falls in. So I happen to find myself on 5/5/2000 sitting in a library accessing the internet, because that was the only place you can get internet in those days, outside of your home, and watching as the planets aligned on the other side of this the sun. Now we can do that now. We can sit here and watch the Soho satellite. And so I started gathering. There was some freaky. I have one right now in my Twitter feed that I also fed into your Twitter feed, of this pulse coming out of the sun with these rings coming out of it. I grabbed this off of Soho myself in December of 1999. And this was the beginning of solar cycle 23, which was the biggest solar cycle we've ever experienced. Just like this is the most solar minimum we've ever experienced in the solar cycle of 24. And now we're about to go into 25. It's every 11 years we deal with this. So I really think this plays a large role in that. But what was this big beam coming out of the sun? I had another, which I could share. It's in the Space War News section if anyone wants to see it, where you actually see a solar flare being dissipated by some object standing in the way of it. This, I've had the Soho satellite on my website since I've had a website. 13 years. You can follow this amazing technology to see this stuff. So I think that plays a large role into all of this.
Now, I've looked at a lot of Soho images, and I saw this one when you posted this today. I've always been confused as to exactly what I am looking at. Right. Now, so going back to this image, which is from 1999, if I'm reading this correct, right? Mm-hmm. It's from 1999. what is it that we are looking at? Is the sun at the center?
Yes. So there is a thing that blocks the sun in the imagery. And what the Soho is a bunch of cups that gather light. And then there's a central point that blocks out the sun itself so that you can just see its rays. But then you can use different filters. They have like the C3, the C2. You can go to the Soho and go through the different filters and see different solar flares and sunspots and things of that nature and all the different frequencies of light. But what you're seeing there in the blue one, I believe that is C3. Mm-hmm. They block out the sun, and you can just see what's out and around it. And so that big pulse just shooting out of the sun with the rings coming out of it, what is that?
Yeah, I know.
It's some sort of portal, Stargate, some very bizarre thing.
Yeah, you say in your tweet, I'm still dying to hear opinions about this photo of the sun from Soho. And if the sun is in the middle, right here, which apparently it is, and these are the rays coming out, what is this ginormous plasma beam? Now, if that, is that like 1 million miles wide? I mean, how big is the beam?
Yeah, it's got to be huge, right? I mean, I used to just scour Soho daily, and I, like I say, that was on a floppy drive, just give you an idea how long ago this was. And there were a number of us that would track the weirdness that was going on. There was this thing we called Shamu. There was this weird thing that would come into frame every once in a while and look kind of like a giant orca head. It would just be this black and white yin yang almost looking thing.
Right.
So there were a lot of things that we collected. I have a whole floppy drive somewhere. I just don't have a floppy drive to put it in of all of these bizarre images. But a lot of this for me also coincided with particle reactors like CERN. And it seemed that there might be some sort of correlation with colliding particles and then solar flare activity. Back in the day, back in the solar cycle 23, in the beginning, I was able to predict the weather using solar flares. If I saw an X-class flare erupt off the sun and was heading at Earth, then I knew there would be a superstorm. And I used to freak people out because I could predict these superstorms. About 3 days. Now, another thing that I noted is I'm very sensitive to pressurization. And when these solar flares erupt, I get sick if they're Earth directed. And I put that out on Facebook one time before they kicked me off of Facebook 4 years ago. Does anyone else feel this pressure? Do you feel sick? And I got so many yeses from that, the solar flare still had 3 days to reach Earth, but yet we could feel the results of it. And
so you would see it, and then you knew that it was coming.
Right. And whether or not it was Earth directed would matter if the storms were going to be superstorms or if they were. But then by the time solar cycle 24 had reached its peak, we were seeing 300 sunspots. So that's, 300 potential solar flares, X-class, and they were starting to blow off 3 at a time. And this was something that hadn't happened the whole time I was watching Soho. And so it became impossible to predict anything because there was so much going on.
We're going to head towards a break right here, and before we get there, what did you think about the National Solar Observatory getting closed down and evacuated by the FBI last week?
Yeah, how freaky, right? That's a tough question. I immediately went to cyber terrorism for some reason in my mind. Maybe I watched too much CIA TV, but I went to see if the SDO, the Solar Dynamic Observatory, was shut down, as some had been saying, and I found it still in operation. So I'm still digging into that to see if the other solar observatories are down, like Stereo is another one. I mean, how can they shut that down? It's 2 satellites orbiting the sun. So I'm still digging into that right now because it's a bizarre story, but it fits because I have a lot of imagery of what appear to be like giant craft around the sun.
Now, we had Linda Moulton Howe on the show last night and discussing this, and a couple of things. I interviewed somebody that his name's Ransom Godwin. He went up to the National Solar Observatory and went onto the grounds and shot a video, ghost town. And oddly enough, in one of the trash cans there, I don't know if you saw the video that I posted. You can see it on my YouTube channel. In the trash can, the place is totally sanitized, right? Totally cleaned. And the top of the trash is an X-Files DVD.
Huh.
Right? Clear, it just there to be found, there to be seen. And very interesting. Now, but what Linda said that was that all of the... and I tend to agree with her. I can't really discount what she was saying, but that nobody saw anything solar related with the sun that was tied in with the closing of the observatory. That may be, but were you looking at Soho and its images last week before they closed it? They closed it on September 6th. If you're always on Soho and checking it out, for your solar flares that make you sick, right? Did you see anything that stood out?
I didn't. I just started a search to see, because you can go back on Soho and check things out, but they updated their website. It wasn't working the way that I wanted it to work on my phone. So no, I haven't gone back, but anyone can. If you go to Soho, the satellite, I have it on every page of my website, so there's no problem finding it. But I didn't. I missed it because I was out of town, and so I have to backtrack. And I certainly intend to go back and see. But of course, anything could have been scrubbed, and it's good to be on top of it right at the time.
Yeah, years ago, I'm going to go back 4 years. I don't remember the specific dates, but somebody had sent me a bunch of images of Soho, which to my eyes, and also to the who sent it to me, looks like an Anunnaki bird with feathers craft, right? With sparks coming off of the back end of it. It's got to be huge because you can see the side of the sun there, but it looks like some kind of craft flying, outside of the sun, maybe even coming from the sun. I'm not sure, or flying around the sun, going somewhere. But clearly, it's an anomaly that's there. It doesn't look like a pixelization or an artificial image of some kind. That it looks real to me. Have you seen the same kind of stuff? You mentioned craft.
Yeah, the first time when I was watching 552,000, that's when it clued me into what I was seeing, because planets on the Soho satellite look like winged discs. And so when I started watching the Soho on 552,000, I saw what looked like little winged discs, and their arms were going in and out, in and out, in and out, and they were circling around. But when I realized that those all went behind the planet or the sun, I realized that those were actually what planets look like inside of the Soho. So there are some weird things that, have weird reflections. So it's hard to say, but there's also things that definitely are inexplicable, and I've got a few of those.
Wait a minute. So you're saying that a planet like Mercury will generate artificial wings?
Yep.
Because it's a reflection off of the sun.
I think it's the way the cups take in the light in the satellite.
Now, what about the sparks? Did you see the flying disc, the winged disc with the sparks coming off of it? Have you seen that image floating around?
No.
Okay. Oh, very interesting. I didn't know. See, that's why you're on this show, man. I learned something from you every second. I had no idea. And unfortunately, Freeman, you can consider that stolen. I'm going to use that and sound smart in the future. So when Mercury's going around the sun, Soho picks it up and gives it artificial wings because of the reflection.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Duly noted. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Freeman. We're talking about Space War News, a section on freemantv.com. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
All Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numana banner on JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously. Go Beckley Teppy. Do you want to be an official Fadernaut? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
If you have hard water, the lime scale not only leaves white spots, it clogs pipes and breaks down appliances, costing you hundreds of dollars in energy and wear. Eliminate lime scale and other water issues like brown staining and bad odors with HydroCare water products, available from Wave Home Solutions. Wave's affordable water systems don't use salts or chemicals. You'll love the way your water tastes, smells, and looks. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Are you intrigued by paranormal talk radio? You'll love the new paranormal radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the paranormal radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the paranormal radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Freeman, talking about Space War News, an amazing section of Freeman TV, and we're going to get to some other stuff too as well. But Freeman talking about what's going on with the sun, and it reminds me of, with what went down with the National Solar Observatory, the movie Contact, and the message that was there. And here we have the National Solar Observatory raided by the FBI and evacuated. No communication to the media. The statement that they finally released this past Sunday was completely full of holes, and I knew that we wouldn't get the real truth, and we still haven't. But that being said, with what you know about what is going on with Soho and SOAR and the other communications that we have with what is going on out there and how we get the news, if something were to happen, would they let us know?
No. They've made that perfectly clear in every movie they've ever made. No, they're not going to tell us.
And would that be a reason for the FBI to go in and shut down the National Solar Observatory? Maybe not necessarily because they saw something, but all of these radio telescopes and observatories around the world, they're all friends. They all communicate with each other. And quite possibly some news was flying around that they didn't want to get to the public. And I think that is a very real possibility here. What do you think?
Yeah, I was looking at an intriguing video that I still have to dig deeper into to see where the source was and where it came from of a lot of craft outside of the sun at that time. I'm intrigued hugely by this because I still think about the Columbia tether experiment when they filmed all those craft and what was going on there. I mean, there's obviously way more to this story than we know. And I hate to, I don't like to speculate. I like to stick to the things that I can see. And that's always very difficult. But we're dealing with a lot of layers here. A lot of things like you've seen have shown up on people's digital cameras that they're not seeing with their naked eye.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot going on. Like you've been to ECETI and we sit there and watch. It looks like a super highway out there. How many craft are making right turns and cruising around out there?
It's so true. I mean, I've got my night vision gear and I can go out, after the program tonight, I can go out and look up and I'm guaranteed to see something that you don't see with the naked eye. And I can't explain this stuff, but I do know that it's going on. The large amount of this planet is completely oblivious as to what's going on up there. They just look up and they see stars and they just assume there's nothing there. And then you turn around and you get a high-powered telescope or you get some night vision and you're looking at the moon and you're seeing something cruise by it or the sun. And it's just like, wait a minute, what could that possibly be? Certainly they're not telling us about it. I mean, could you imagine if everybody had night vision and was out there looking up and going, wait a minute now, we don't have that many satellites. And not only that, satellites that make right-hand turns, but that are low in altitude. We're not talking about necessarily things that are, 200, 400 miles up into space. We're talking about stuff that is 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 feet, up. And you can't see it with the naked eye, but you can see it with night vision, and I can't explain it. I really can't. I don't know what's going on there. But the shutting down of this observatory is something that we're going to be talking about for a long time until they come clean and tell us exactly what is going on. And I don't think they're going to do that.
No.
The other part of this, which I find really fascinating, is the video that you're talking about, which went all over the net. I can't tell you how many emails I got with that video in it. It's in the hundreds.
Yeah.
And I look at that video and I'm trying to make sense of it. Is it something that's slightly out of focus? Is the cell phone camera, because it was shot off of a monitor, it's the one you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Is it the cell phone camera moving slightly and stretching the image out, but then a lot of the stars in the background are not stretched? So it looks like something is there, and then there's all these reports that it was faked and that this was CGI created and it was done in Photoshop after the fact. And I read somebody else report that said that this is a digital artifact that's built into all the sensors on on cell phone cameras, and it's the way that it's being picked up off of the monitor. It looks like that's the way it is on the monitor, but it's not. I just don't know. What do you think you're seeing when you first saw that video?
I thought it had potential, but again, I didn't know its source. So I tried to dig deeper before we went on the air so that I might have an opinion, but I wasn't able to dig deep enough before we came on. But yeah, I mean, CERN in connection with the Vatican launched up on the International Space Station the Alpha Magnetic Spectrometer. Now, this was put up by a corporation or built by a corporation known as Grawlater. And Grawlater, their corporate logo is a reptilian claw. And CERN and the Vatican came together to put the AMS, the Alpha Magnetic Spectrometer, up on the International Space Station in order to see dark matter, to see the anti-universe. And so they've been collecting that data, but the fact that it has a reptilian claw as a corporate logo on the side of the damn thing and the connection of Vatican and CERN just blew my mind.
How do you spell it? How do you spell it?
AMS, the Alpha.
No, Grawlater. How do you spell it?
Oh, Grawlater. Let's see. It's GRALLATOR.
Okay. I got it right here. Okay. And keep going. Oh, yeah. Wow.
And they built the antimatter annihilation detector that then was put up by CERN to see the anti-universe.
That would be a reptilian logo.
It's crazy, right?
That is nuts. I had no idea that this even existed.
Yeah, that's
okay. So back to what did they install on the ISS?
It's a device to see the anti-universe. So now, if we're talking about multidimensional craft or beings, this would be the thing that could see them.
Unbelievable. Put up by the Vatican.
Yeah, in association with CERN.
Now wait a minute here. This can't be all connected.
Yeah, well, that's why I collect all the stories in the Space War News so that everybody can go back and look.
Now, when we discuss this kind of thing with CERN, and it sounds like it's getting way out onto the fringe, but that's exactly what CERN is doing. And I'm not even sure, Freeman, that they are in control of the experiments. And the experiments that they are doing there, well, they're experiments, so they're testing. They're trying to discover new things. But when you're dealing with antimatter and trying to create an artificial black hole or whatever these things are, trying to reach the speed of light, are areas that we really don't know what the repercussions are. And I've often thought about and postulated here on this show that they could open up portals to another dimension and allow things here that we don't want. And I'm not really going too far here in this type of thought. And,
no.
In that's CERN possibly could be. I'm really suggesting crazy things here, but these are not out of the realms of possibility.
Yeah, let me throw one at you because one that I think was really intriguing in social engineering was the Cloud of Care. And the Cloud of Care was a rocket launched up out of the Wallops Flight Facility, which is also known as Mars. And you could watch the launch live on my website. They launched up an aluminum oxide cloud into the upper atmosphere out of this rocket, which created a spiral and a big blue beam, right? This was before the Norway spiral. And it opened this, what looked like a portal, and then it sucked up in on itself again. And now, like I say, you could watch the launch live from FreemanTV.com, but when they reported it on the news, they made it out to be aliens. And I also have that news report there for you to see, that they're saying all of our experts have no idea what this was. But we think, maybe aliens opened a portal on the other side. They had little old ladies out there talking about it that they were interviewing. And, here I am going, well, you could watch the launch on my site. Well, okay, so they launched this aluminum oxide cloud up in the upper atmosphere, saying they were testing for noctilucent clouds to see the effect of noctilucent clouds, right? Well, then, not too long after this, maybe a month or two, was the Norway spiral. And what we find is that we have this massive release of this, what seemed to be sapphire. Aluminum oxide, again, the base element of sapphires. That's what gave it its blue color. And then it's launched directly over iSCAT, the ionospheric heater in Solvabard in Sweden. Or in Norway, just as Obama's showing up to get his Nobel Peace Prize, right?
Right.
There's massive blue. So we start to combine some of the technologies that we're looking at. So they launched, they directed a commercial for Doritos to Ursa Major. They sent the day the Earth stood still to Alpha Centauri. And strangely, the day the Earth stood still showed up in Alpha Centauri December 21st, 2012, because it took 4 years for it to get there. And it was simulcast when it was shown in the theaters. It was sent to Alpha Centauri. So now we have the idea that we have this ability to send these transmissions to these deep space places. Now you've got this concept of punching a hole into the other dimension using sapphires, of all things, aluminum oxide, to then pulse using an ionospheric heater, potentially opening a portal that then you could send things through. We've been watching as they trapped antimatter for 16 minutes. This is unheard of. This is Dan Brown gone out of control. Mm-hmm. And the ability to transmit and recreate mass into a photon. So this is getting very much into being able to transmit matter through these, like Star Trek, right? Like the beam me up, Scotty.
Right.
To be able to reinstitute mass into a photon, into a light particle, and it seems like this is what we're trying to work on, is some sort of teleportation device into another dimension. If you start to put the sciences together.
Well, and another way to do it, if you did, okay, just go with me on this. If you sent two different protons, one spinning in the opposite direction, right? Two, then one could be a 0 and one could be a 1. And then you stream the information. Now you could theoretically, in real time, not at the speed of light, and go through a portal and communicate, right? And now you could you could communicate with Alpha Centauri with code and vast amounts of information, and turn around and receive it too as well.
Exactly. And now they've launched the largest collider in Transylvania. It's a laser collider. So we have the relativistic heavy ionic collider at Brookhaven National Laboratories here in New York, that is colliding gold particles and announcing that they have manipulated space-time, that they manipulated time somehow using gold particle collision. Then CERN using lead collision, we're seeking this God particle in the anti-universe. And then whatever this laser collider is going to do in Transylvania, of all places, is I'm still keeping my eye on that. Don't have much news from that at all.
The reasons for this would be to what? Do we know that? Look, Stephen Hawking, before he passed away, he was working with that Russian billionaire to get their microsatellites up to light speed to Alpha Centauri. And why the focus there? And that's very interesting about the day that the Earth stood still. I did not know about that. And at the speed of light, getting there December 21st, 2012, that is very interesting. But why the focus at Alpha Centauri? We just found an exoplanet there. Is there life at Alpha Centauri, and are we trying to communicate with it? And ultimately, is that CERN's mission?
And why would we send him the day the Earth stood still with Keanu Reeves? I mean, give me a break. Saying humans are the most warring planet out here, Earthlings are the most warring planet. Send a giant nano robot to destroy us all. Why that movie? Why would we send that one to Alpha Centauri? It blows me away. If we're gonna send any movie, I don't want to send something that says that.
No, send them Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Or Caddyshack, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But not Independence Day or or something like that. You're absolutely right. I did not know about that though. What do you make of the media, the heavy media coverage of fast radio bursts? That seems to be the trend right now. And then last week, we got the press release on the repeating fast radio burst. It's actually repeating itself.
I'm going to have to look into that.
Yeah. And the amount of energy and what it would take to create a fast radio burst is interesting enough. But the question is there a signal on the inside of it? And would we even understand it? It goes right back to the movie Contact once again.
That's what I'm thinking is, this whole space travel isn't literally travel like in rockets, but, soul travel, if you will.
Yes. Yes. It's a very interesting way to look at it. Do you think that President Trump is the president to be part of disclosure? He can't seem to keep a secret, which is something that I can appreciate, that I actually like about the guy, in that he's willing to tweet it out. And if we made contact, if there was something to announce, is he our guy?
Well, we're seeing that he came forward. Well, first, we're finding that his family has been involved with this all along. We have his uncle dealing with Tesla technology and being the man the government asked to research Tesla. Then we have his grandfather, I believe it was, with the Sonora Air Group, the beginning of the secret space program, with the Trump logo over it as they're starting to come up with some of the exotic spacecraft. So we find that Trump's family and his line have been wrapped up in this space program all along. We know this ET contact is coming out. The Royal Society had a major meeting on it. We had the different Vatican ambassadors coming forward, like Benjamin Funes saying, I would baptize ET no matter how many tentacles he had. Mm-hmm. All of this is starting to definitely come to the surface now, and it's not, it's becoming mainstream now with the Vatican and with the Royal Society and with even the UN put Moslin Othman as their head of outer space affairs. NASA put Linda Rothschild as their extraterrestrial ambassador for NASA, a Rothschild, of course.
Right.
So it's coming to the surface without question. And maybe, we're all going to be feeling like Don Peyote pretty soon.
I know. We're going to talk about Don Peyote when we come back off of the break. But then also we have To the Stars Academy with Tom DeLonge and what happened with the New York Times back on December 16th, 2017. This massive amount of UFO coverage, which seemed to be the day of disclosure. It's tend to have fizzled out. I'm hoping it's going to come back and they've got something else to bring forward. But that also suggests something is going on too as well. Do you think that To the Stars quite possibly could be an arm of the CIA or a tool of the CIA in using Tom DeLonge's celebrity and Blink 182 to maybe test the waters a little bit of the world out there to see how they would deal with the question of UFOs?
Yeah, I mean, the first time I saw his list of mentors and people involved, you see Hal Puthoff. We're going straight back to remote viewing and secret mind programs with Hal Puthoff and Stanford Research Institute, the SRI stuff. Like if you got Hal Puthoff as your top guy, and then following below all of that are genetic manipulation and genetic, cross chimera and all of that. When you start looking at the list of To the Stars and who's involved, it's really bizarre. And just like when we started exploding nukes, we started having major flaps of UFOs. Now we're punching holes in the other dimensions. So what's going to come of that, right? It obviously it's going to attract somebody's attention.
Do you think that this could be the year of us? Do you feel it? Is it as tangible as I think it is, that we are on the edge of something really big happening when it comes to ET and the questions?
Yeah, I can say I feel it. And, I've put out 2 DVDs on this very topic, Obama, Cloning and the Coming Space War. I put that out about 10 years ago. And then ET and the Transhumanist Agenda. Definitely my best DVD, I must say. ET and the Transhumanist Agenda, 5 hours of nothing but this type of reporting. And yeah, I've been feeling this coming for some time now.
There was another announcement. We have all of this. It does remind me of the movie Don Peyote, actually. All of this, it's just like one thing after another, nearly daily in the media, has talk about an exoplanet or fast radio bursts or alien life on Europa, whatever it is. And then a couple of months ago, something came and went in the media that was largely ignored. I caught it, and it was that they found bacteria from space growing on the outside of the International Space Station. They went out surviving in space, life, right? They collected it and brought it back to Earth. And nobody freaked out. I mean, I freaked out. Now, I don't know. And I believe that it happened. I mean, it's there, and the reports are there, and that bacteria is here. Don't you test that on the ISS? You don't bring. I saw the movie Andromeda Strain, right? You don't bring that stuff back here.
Yeah, exactly. That's definitely off the charts there. I mean, they have plenty of technology to study those sort of things. They have, cloning programs going on the International Space Station. I know that sounds crazy, but you can go look it up, folks. They sent up a number of stem cells. They're seeking longevity for astronauts and things. So we know they have the science going on up there to be able to do that. They wouldn't have 30 stem cell programs going on the International Space Station if they didn't. So that is bizarre.
Yeah, because, the search for life, possibly. I'm not alien life in the, under the ice on Europa. I'm not concerned about that. And I'll tell you why. If you are a water-based life form, then you haven't advanced. You've got no fire, right? No fire means no technology, and you're not launching rockets or anything else. You don't have advanced nuclear propulsion system. You don't have any of that. I'm not concerned about that. But if we have got life that is floating around in space, right, in the temperature, in the voids of space, zero, right, true zero, but it's surviving and growing on the outside of the ISS, that is alien life. That's alien life, man. That's panspermia happening right there, and they brought it back onto the surface of the Earth. I just didn't understand that, and nobody seemed concerned about it, and I am concerned, and nothing about it since.
Right.
Yeah, it's totally interesting. Let's take a break right here. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight's Freeman, talking about the Space War news on his website. But when we come back, we're going to talk about Don Peyote. And if you haven't seen the movie, you need to. And especially after you hear our conversation about it. We'll be right back. This is Fade to Black.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Howard.
Alpha the Metal God on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Poor water quality is a major health issue, and it's only getting worse. Municipalities can't keep up, standards have dropped, and pollutants are increasing. Where does it all end? It ends by keeping the pollutants outside of your home with HydroCare's advanced systems available at Wave Home Solutions. No less than the best purification materials and processes have been developed by HydroCare to provide you with healthy, clean water for drinking, cooking, and showering. HydroCare far surpasses the competition in removing chlorine, odors, iron, lead, chemicals, limescale, and much more. Don't settle for less when it comes to your water. We'll take care of the toughest water problems for you, whether it's from a city or well source. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, call 888-997-WAVE. That's 888-997-WAVE. Or go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRARadio.com.
Does your basement or crawl space have a damp, musty smell? Well, watch out. That's a sign of too much moisture and not enough ventilation. And that can mean increased mold growth and the buildup of harmful toxins and gases. Don't bother with a dehumidifier. It just circulates the same unhealthy air. Now there's a better way to remove these dangers and odors. It's with the computerized Wave Moisture Control Unit that reduces moisture and expels pollutants.
We replaced our old dehumidifier with the Wave unit, and in only 3 weeks, our basement is dry and the musty smell is gone.
Wave units require no maintenance, no buckets of water or filters, and costs only pennies a day to run. Breathe better, live healthier with an affordable, no-maintenance Wave unit. Call 888-717-WAVE, 888-717-WAVE, or visit dryhealthyhome.com. Dryhealthyhome.com.
Ride the wave. Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from River Moon. Just click on the River Moon coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B blend.
So are you tired of being tired? Well, then it's time to get the tea. Hey, it's Lisa here to tell you about this all-natural, all-organic tea I've been drinking that has had great results for over 20 years. It's called Life Change Tea, and it's specially formulated to help detoxify and cleanse your kidneys, liver, colon, and blood all at once. The colon is one of the most ignored organs in the human body. The faster that waste is eliminated from the body, the less time that waste sits in our intestines, spreading toxins to our bloodstream. This tea helps cleanse chemicals caused by outside intruders from our entire digestive system. And get this, weight loss can be a side effect. And with continued use of the tea, you can experience clearer, healthier, younger looking skin, increased energy, and a happier outlook on life. So if you're tired of being tired, get the Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. And like me, you'll be glad you did.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony. Damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Freeman is the guest. Talking about the space wars all night. Great conversation, but we're going to shift gears and we're going to talk about the movie Don Peyote. And which, I'm going to say this out of the gate there, Freeman. You're pretty humble about your influence on this film. And you are... you have your spots throughout the film. It's not like you've got a little cameo, right, in one spot. You're actually featured throughout the film. I want to back up and go back to the progenitor of the film, which might have been you. We'll talk about that in a second. But when the film was released, as you know, we had Dan Fogler on the show, and it was a great interview. It was a lot of fun. But there was one thing that he said that stuck with me. He said that his jumping into this whole conspiracy world started for him on September 11th, 2001, when he was watching the news in New York from his apartment, and he's listening to the news, and they're reporting one thing, and he's looking out the window at the World Trade Centers and seeing another story. And he knew at that point the world wasn't as it seems. And it was an epiphany for him. And I think that is something that we really need to talk about when it comes to all of these ideas and things about the world around us, that sometimes it's just not what we are being told. And that's what this film is actually about.
Yeah, when you realize that awakening, as we call it, to the real world, or as close as we can get to it, is very much like learning that you're going to die. You really go through the stages of grief that you would if a doctor had told you you got 3 months to live, because all of a sudden your whole world's shattered. And so you go through those stages of grief, anger, denial, all of that, until you get to acceptance and go, okay, this is kind of strange. Let me get into this,
When the film was released, I went and read a lot of the reviews about it. And I could tell, especially after you watch the film too, that those reviewing the film know nothing about the world that Dan was trying to project and what this film is actually about. When Anne Hathaway sits down with him in the apartment and says, okay, we're going to connect the dots, right? And she goes down the list of everything that we talk about on this show, right? She goes right down the list. And I was thinking to myself, well, exactly. But the film was released in 2014 and was written about subjects that happened before that date, specifically 2012 and the end of the world and his visions and his dreams. But the things that Anne Hathaway listed very specifically are things that we discuss in the mainstream media today. And the film was actually pretty spot on, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's some backstory to that, because there was a whole nother movie that was made as Dan Fogler went around and interviewed all of these people. All of that got cut from the movie and were replaced by that scene with Anne Hathaway. And by the way, that scene with Anne Hathaway was completely unscripted. That was her on her own, just going off, right? He did not write that. That was her just going off. But there was a whole 2-hour movie before the movie, and you can actually watch it on my YouTube channel. I don't know whether or not you can hear it, but the beginning of the movie was Warren Allman, that was Dan Fogler's character, discovering the end of the world and coming to the grips with it, right? And going through the crash of the stages of grief. And so a lot of that is lost in the movie, and therefore Ebert, on Ebert.com, they said it was the worst movie ever made in America. Which, yeah, you didn't understand it because you don't have that first setup of the movie. It all got cut. It all hit the editing floor. So I actually have the original version up on my YouTube for everyone to watch. Hopefully you can actually hear it. I don't know. But I have both versions. One of them, the original or the theatrical release, I think they took the audio off of that one, but I think I still have the original. So anyway, there's this whole situation where Dan Fogler went around and actually lived it. Went and filmed and went and met all of the different researchers and got everybody on film. But all of that hit the cutting room floor. The reason I didn't hit the cutting room floor was one reason. Dan loves me. He loves my work. He's been a follower for a long, long time. And I'm kind of the inspiration for the movie. As Dan Peyote becomes Rainbow at the end, that's all me. Pretty much just give up on reality and let's go live life. But the reactions that you see with me, like Fogler started taking me different places, and I'm like, man, this is boring. This isn't any good. So I took him to the New York Grand Lodge of Freemasonry. This was during a supermoon on a planetary alignment. It was a very ritualistic night, and we got the Masons all talking about it. None of this made it to the movie. They were talking about bodies in the basement, bringing them up for their ritual sacrifice. The Mason that was giving us the tour at the New York Grand Lodge, I set this whole thing up for Fogler and his film crew, and they had told us that we couldn't film, but yet they just sat there while we did. We're doing sound checks in every room and everything, and this guy is giving this epic show. I'm dying to get that footage from Fogler because the Masons wouldn't allow us to put it. It wouldn't allow him to put it in the movie. But a lot of what you see from him in my reactions, like at the St. John's Cathedral, they're real. Because he had never seen any of this stuff. So I got a chance to take Fogler around to a bunch of different places. They filmed me for some 20, 30 hours. I mean, ridiculous amount of stuff they filmed with me. But the funny thing is that I may have ended up out of the movie had I just stuck to the script. They had asked me to come there and bring my Masonic books with me to share on camera. Because he made it out as if he was filming a documentary, not making a movie. He was kind of pulling a Borat and was trying to trick us into thinking we were in a documentary. But he had asked me to bring all these Mason books, and I was like, man, that's boring. I'm not going to do that. I didn't tell him that, but I brought my tarot deck instead. Now, funny thing is about me, I don't go looking into what I'm stepping into. I've always been one that leaps before I look. And I got this invitation to come to New York and be in a documentary. I did not look up to see who had invited me. I show up at Fogler's door and I look at him and I go, I know you. And I thought I knew him because I know so many people, in all my years of travel, I run into people all the time that I know that I don't really know, because I've met thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of people. So I'm sitting there like, I know you. And he's like, you don't know me. And I'm like, no, I'm sure I know you. And he's like, you might know my movies. And it clicked. I had just watched Balls of Fury and all of, Good Luck Chuck. And I just happened to watch all of Fogler's movies. And was like, oh my God. So he was a little disappointed that I didn't even check to see who I was coming to visit, and I show up. But anyway, Fogler and I became really good friends, and I showed him all around. But instead of bringing the Mason books, I brought my tarot deck because I knew that'd be better for film. And they were like, oh, okay, well, will you do a reading? So I did. And they're all around me on this table, and I'm reading the tarot. And they're freaking out. They can't say anything. I can sense it around me because, we're live on the camera. But then as soon as camera shut down, everybody's like, did you tell him? You told him, didn't you? They all thought that he had told me the plot of the movie. But he hadn't. I didn't even know I was in a movie. I thought I was going to be in a documentary. I had read the plot of the movie in the tarot cards. And they were tripping out. So they had me reread the whole reading again. And so that's how I really managed to stay in the movie because I fit the plot.
Did he after September 11th, did he go and find you? Did he check you out before you guys met at the door?
Yeah. He's been a fan since the Access days. He's been a fan since 2005.
Right.
So.
And he fully understands the concept of not only connecting the dots, but what it's like for those that aren't prepared, that fall down this rabbit hole.
And the reaction of the family members.
All of it. All of it. Was part of that because I felt that there was some reality here. Did he go dark? I mean, did he go down the rabbit hole himself?
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I can tell you is he was filming Mars Needs Moms when we met up. And Mars Needs Moms is about if you're a really good kid. Now, Disney, okay, social engineering, mind control, Disney, put out a film, Mars Needs Moms, where it says if you're a really good kid, then Martians will abduct your mother because she did such a good job and suck her brains out and stick it into their robot controllers to run their matriarchal military program on Mars. That was the plot of Mars Needs Moms. Now, here I am with Fogler talking about Disney. I didn't even know he was in the movie at the time because it hadn't come out yet. And he's like, should I quit? Should I quit Disney? Should I quit this movie? And I'm like, no, man, take Disney's money and go make your movie, man. Stick with it. But yeah, he started to really question what he was in and what he was involved in.
I've got to watch Mars Needs Moms. I'm going to watch that tonight after the show. I heard about the film. I never watched it. But so back to Fogler. What if anybody that was reviewing the film had any idea about the conspiracy community and the ability to connect the dots as Anne Hathaway laid it out, then I think the reception of the film would be different. I don't have any issues with the hero's journey that happens here. I don't have any issues from the beginning to the end of the film. It still, being a feature film, still actually was a documentary.
Yeah, and I'll tell you on both sides. Like we premiered it at the Free Your Mind conference before it went out, and had Fogler there and everything. And the conspiracy theorists from the conference were upset by the movie, thinking that Fogler was making fun of them. They didn't understand it.
Right. Oh, that's right. You guys did the tour bus.
Yeah, then we went on the Don Peyote tour, which
that's right. I forgot about that. And you guys came to L.A. too. That's right.
Yeah.
And I couldn't make it to the premiere because I was on Coast to Coast that night. That's right. I remember all of it now. It's all coming back to me. And for you, when you see Don Peyote today, are you happy with the film?
No, because the first 2 hours are cut out. Like I know it lost a lot of the storyline, not having all the stuff that Warren Allman went through to come to these conclusions. You kind of just dropped in, and then again, that Anne Hathaway part was just tossed in to replace all the documentary. So I'm like, well, Dan, make Warren Allman's documentary. You've got all the footage. Why not? He at the end of the movie, he's passing out his DVD. I'm like, make that DVD. You've got all that footage, and then you could use the Mason stuff because they couldn't say anything about a documentary. I want to see that Mason stuff so bad. That Mason was saying the craziest stuff, man. And I was egging him on. I got him to say all kinds of stuff. And so I hope someday he can get back around to it, but I seriously doubt that we'll ever hear anything from Don Peyote again. But yeah, if you go watch the original version on my website, or on my YouTube, you'll see what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I've got to go check it out. And there's another scene in the movie again, would get past anybody that doesn't know anything about this community. But there is a whole ayahuasca scene with Josh Duhamel that is absolutely priceless.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about that. And did Fogler do ayahuasca?
He did. He did everything that he expressed in there. Really, he even had all of his metal taken out of his teeth, and he went through quite a process to actually create this film. I mean, he flew all over the world to meet up with scientists and doctors and everything. So yeah, there was quite a transformation. I don't know. I believe maybe they were on ayahuasca at that time,
Oh, I didn't know that. I wasn't suggesting that. But they didn't do ayahuasca in the film, did they?
I wouldn't put it past them, honestly. I don't know.
Okay.
But I honestly wouldn't put it past them, but maybe not.
Man, I got Fogler's number right here. We should call him.
Yeah. Yeah, I know he's a psychonaut, so.
But what do you mean he, and I got to go back and catch something that you said at the beginning of the show tonight, and don't let me forget that. What do you mean he had all the metal removed from his teeth?
Yeah, he went and got all the mercury fillings taken out.
Man, he went full on, didn't he?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And now, I don't remember if I asked Dan about this, but the dreams that he was having in the beginning that started him on this, I don't want to say a downward spiral. It was more about an awakening and figuring things out. But did he actually have those apocalyptic dreams, with the tsunami?
Yeah, he definitely was freaked out, without a doubt. He told me that, this was pretty much his reality. So
and so there's another part of the film. For me, I think a lot of us go through this. I know people that do this, which is friggin' YouTube, right? And you go and you click on one video after another, and the next thing you know, like Fogler does in the film. He's staying up all night watching one video after another where things are just suggesting stranger and stranger things, and it becomes a part of his reality.
Yeah. I highly recommend my weird video section for just that. It's a multitude of hours of just the weirdest things I've found on YouTube throughout the years. I just made a playlist. I actually have 2 playlists, so we're talking about like 600 videos, something like that.
Now
and it's called
what's it called?
Weird videos.
Okay, I went through. I can't tell you how many of those that I've watched. I'm telling the audience right now. I've spent days on that part of Freeman's website, and the new website looks great, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, good work there. Back to Dan really quick. How is he doing today? Are you guys still talking much?
We don't talk too much, but we, keep tabs. He's really excited about his new daughter. He's, getting into that whole situation of being a dad. And, he's still pumping out the Harry Potter. I mean, it's funny. I walk around and I try to talk about, I try to boast, all right, a little bit. Yeah, well, I'm in a movie with Dan Fogler and Anne Hathaway, and nobody knows who Fogler is. and I'm like, he's in the Harry Potter movie. And they're like, there's a Harry Potter movie? I'm like, well, it's not technically Harry Potter. It's the American version, but it's the same brand, and so he's like the most unfamous person. My other famous person that I'm great friends with, of course, is Mary Sean Young from Dune and all of that. And we've tried to get her on, but you don't want her now. She's was just being hunted down for burglary.
What?
So, you didn't hear about that?
When was this? I mean,
just last month. She was caught on video robbing her place of employment. There's a bit of a story where she says that she actually just went to go and retrieve her personal computers and took the wrong ones. Yeah, right. Sorry, Mary. But, these are my celebrity friends. They're crazy B-list that no one seems to know of, but yet constantly in the news in some crazy way.
This happened last month.
Yeah.
Actor Sean Young under investigation Monday in New York after the alleged theft of 2 laptops belonging to a production company that fired her from a new film she was directing. I did not hear about any of this. Oh, wow. When was the last time you talked to her? I know that...
Right before that, actually. She was supposed to come to my house.
And is everything cleared up with this?
I haven't talked to her since. Like, I just now found that it was possibly cleared up, and since there's no follow-up story, I have to assume that she got away with it and returned the laptops because her son was with her. So it was a pretty bad situation there. I think they cleared it all up. I think she probably just gave everything back, and they gave her amnesty over it.
I'll have Sean Young on this show anytime.
Someday. She just doesn't, that's just it. It's really hard.
You have a strange circle of fans.
I know. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm also in an HBO documentary with Chris Crocker. I mean, come on.
I know, right?
Talking about Britney being a mind control victim, but yeah, I love the places I show up. I love being a cult classic.
Now, what are you working on now? And how is the band, by the way?
Well, Molecular is still more of a project than a band. I'm really excited to have actually produced an album. So, that was just kind of my goal. So we haven't really messed around with Molecular. It's so hard to find a drummer. You got to know that.
Yes, I know.
It's like impossible. So we still have a bunch of Molecular music that hasn't been released. But if people want to check out my music, it's on molecularband.com. And I'm digging more into the art. Like I say, I'm starting to get more into settling in and stuff like that. But I'm finding that I'm always kind of on a tip that I don't know where it's going. Like the information that led me to predicting 9/11, the information that predicted me saying Obama wouldn't have a birth certificate. Now, having this 9 years of space war data that I've been tracking, I just know what to focus on. So I have a feeling this is going to be the next major release from me because I have all this data just stored there, coming ready. So I have a feeling that's going to be the next thing.
Now, where is the Don Peyote version of the film on your YouTube channel?
Yeah, YouTube, they block me a lot. A lot of my stuff, like Aliens from Hell, like you were saying, you can only watch on my website because they. But I'm going to search here for it.
But that's okay. I'll go and find it. I didn't know if it was featured in a specific part of the YouTube channel because I did want to go and check it out. Okay. Well, and what is next before I've got to part and say goodnight? What are you working on now?
Right now, keeping my show going, just keeping going, really, is the goal here. I've produced 7 DVDs, 3 books, a flash drive. I produced 7 films for Alex Jones, 3 films for Tex Mars. I have a ton of stuff there for everyone to just go out there and dig deep. So right now, I'm settling in so that I can get my mind back around all of this deep topic of this Space Force. And I really feel like that will be the next big tip that's coming out to database even this extraterrestrial influence that's been rising up. And who knows, maybe the book, maybe I'll finally have the real definitive book come out. But right now, I'm just trying to settle in and feel in a place that I can be creative and get this work out. So I'm just working on a lot of art and music and things of that nature to really just get the juices flowing and to feel settled in because, every half an hour of production takes 4 months of dedication. So it's kind of hard to do both when you have a show now because you really, when you get into a project like a film, it's 4 months of 10-hour days just to produce a half an hour. I've gotten a little faster, but not much.
Yeah, I totally get that. And I think you're right. Linda Moulton House said last night on the program that we're going to have the questions answered about contact with ET by January 1st, 2019. And that's 2.5 months away. So we shall see. But I think I can almost reach out and touch it. I feel I feel something is about to break, and I'm not sure where it's going to come from, but it's like we're being spoon-fed. We're being trained, and I just don't know if the world's going to come to an end. I don't think it will. I think it's just going to be another day, and status quo is going to stay moving forward. I don't think the world is going to collapse as we know it. I think that they've been very effective at training all of us for the acceptance of life out there, and then we are being visited, and there you go. And that's what she says, January 1st, 2019.
Wow. Yeah, without a doubt. It's been quite a process of this unfolding, like I say, with the Royal Society coming together, having all the experts on extraterrestrial contact come together in that situation, and then the Pope and the Vatican coming forward on extraterrestrials. This is something that is absolutely bubbling to the surface. And what's crazy is involved in all of that is also the gene splicing, the genetic manipulation, the cloning, and mind transfer technologies, along with quantum computers. Because when you go look at the Royal Society meeting on extraterrestrial communication, you will also find all of these other projects and programs involved there as well. So it is quite a world that we're about to walk into here.
Thank you so much, Freeman. And again, everybody, it's freemantv.com, and the links are over at jimmychurchradio.com, and you can go straight there. Thank you so much, Freeman. Behave and be well. And when you talk to Sean, tell her the invitation is wide open, and she's welcome here anytime.
You got it.
Thank you so much. Freeman TV. And freemantv.com, and of course you can follow Freeman on Twitter at Freeman TV on Twitter. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I am going to break right here for commercials, and I'll be right back with open lines with all of you. Stay with me. I'll be right back.
You are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numana banner on jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously, go Beckley Tappy. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I take Life Change Tea supplements every single day. It's what I do. Click on their banner at jimmychurchradio.com. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and my family is safe because of Numana Emergency Food Storage. Just go to the Numana banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code Jimmy10.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JamieChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm Jimmy Church. Got to thank Freeman for coming in. Great conversation tonight. Who knew all of his interest into Soho and monitoring the sun and his section over at Freeman TV, Space War News. And you've got to go and check that out. It's great reading, and there's a lot of stuff there. Thank you so much, Freeman. And, his video section at Freeman TV will keep you occupied for months. And he's got an awful lot of stuff posted over on YouTube as well. Just a great conversation tonight. And, and not dispelling all of the Soho stuff that led up to September 6th and the closing of the National Solar Observatory. I don't know. We need to definitely keep our wits about us and constantly stay on top of what's going on with all of these observatories around the world, because I'll say it again. When it happens and, like the movie Contact, it's going to go down just like it did with the National Solar Observatory. And we're going to be talking about this for a very long time. Let's go to the phones. Area code. The phone lines are open. 323-825-5045 or 323-275-9695 or 818-921-6929. Area code 360. You're up on Fade to Black. You're live.
Hi, it's Tanette.
Hi, Tanette. How are you?
Good. Couple of things. I love Freeman. Awesome. Wonderful guest. But I was listening to the Leak Project earlier today on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And Ronnie was on there, Life Change Tea.
Mm-hmm.
And he said a plane crashed in his backyard yesterday.
Yes, it did. Yes, he called me yesterday right after it happened. I talked about it last night on the show. I was, now you leaked that. I was going to have Ronnie on tomorrow to tell everybody about it, but there you go.
Oh, well, in his, okay, I won't spoil it for everybody.
But, we're going to have Ronnie on. I wanted him to calm down a little bit. I didn't want to do it on the show last night, but there you go. So what else is on your mind, Tanette?
Yeah, and I also wanted to comment on the observatory closure.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Sather actually had a pretty good idea. I think that just clicked with me. It just resonated with me that possibly the observatory might have been some bad hats, for a lack of a better word, possibly spying on our satellites or something in our satellites orbiting the Earth that they weren't supposed to be seeing, and that they weren't actually in an observatory at all. They could have been possibly Chinese technology or whoever that was basically spying on our satellites and stuff. And I thought that was a pretty good hypothesis.
Well, I don't want to discount Jordan and his ideas because we don't know about anything because they've kept silent about it. But if Jordan is basing this on actual information that he was given, or this is just an idea of his, I think that's important to note here, because I could suggest anything too as well, or so can anybody else or yourself. So was Jordan basing this on fact? Did he have something to base this on? Okay. All right. Well,
no, he didn't. But almost as soon as he said that, I was like, oh, it just clicked.
Yeah.
Like, that just sounds correct.
Yeah, could be. I mean, this is how I'm going to tell you how I feel, Tanette. I feel like the whole thing was done to check out the reaction. Okay, that the reaction that everybody would have if an observatory was closed down by a government agency because of ET contact or for whatever reason, and judge the way that we would react to it and see how the UFO community would react and who would say what and where they would go. Because the X-Files DVD being placed in that trash can was meant to be seen, was meant to be found. And the allowing of people to just go up and walk those grounds when it was supposed to have been evacuated, but yet they allowed everybody to go up there and shoot drone footage and Ransom Godwin walking around there with a video camera, and nobody stopped them. And to go and film the DVD or whatever, and to go back and report, and that's the way that I feel. It was like it was meant to happen that way. This whole story was meant to be leaked in the fashion that it was. You have the silence to the media and the sheriff's department going, I don't know what the FBI is not telling us anything. We're talking about the local law enforcement agency up there is not involved in an evacuation or protecting and securing the compound, which has got all kinds of sensitive equipment. It's an observatory. None of it makes any sense. So it just seems like they wanted all of the conspiracy theories to run wild, and they would monitor it and see how we reacted and what we talked about. That's the way it feels to me. And I don't think I'm too far off the mark. So you have people, you have people like Jordan saying things. You've got spaceships around the sun. You've got the X-Files DVD there. We've got Chinese spies with antennas looking at White Sands and Holloman Air Force Base, and Roswell is down the street. Let's just throw everything into one big pile here and see how it ignites. That's the way it feels to me tonight.
So either they're doing like what you said and just seeing how people react, or it's a like distraction and baiting, just to get us distracted from something else. We don't know.
Yeah, it could be. It could be that too as well. And here we are, right? We're just sitting here speculating. Exactly.
Right.
That's exactly what we're doing. I don't know. The explanations that they gave, a security risk, and we didn't want to alert the suspect. Well, I'm sorry, but Black Hawk helicopters and the FBI is going to alert any suspect. An evacuation of the compound. An evacuation of the compound is going to alert a suspect. It's just like the dumbest thing I ever heard. So that story just doesn't, we all see through that. And even that seems like it's part of the game that they're playing. It's a bogus statement.
BS meter goes through the roof.
Yeah, completely. Completely. And that's my take. It just feels like all of this was meant to happen the way that it played out. And you don't go and evacuate a government compound like that of, a national observatory that's monitoring the sun with all of the computers and equipment. And it's a friggin' solar telescope. You're just going to leave that wide open, for anybody to just walk up there unless you wanted them to see something like that X-Files DVD. It just doesn't make any sense. So there you go. Tanette, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And she's absolutely right. I don't know. I didn't watch Jordan's. I didn't watch anybody's reporting on this. I didn't. I just didn't do it. Well, time was one of the reasons, but the other part is nobody knew anything. And I had a pretty good line of inside information that was coming to me from up there. And even that wasn't telling me anything. And those that went up there, and I'm speaking specifically of Ransom Godwin, he was there and he had nothing to report. Well, outside of, the things that he saw, but there was, he wasn't able to figure out anything from walking around the grounds there and shooting that amazing video that he did. We didn't get any answers out of that. It raised more questions, as it should, than we had answers for. So you need to think about that. Let's go back to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black.
Hi, Jimmy. It's Deb from Sacramento.
Hi, Deb. How are you?
Doing good. I feel like I've been living in a hole because I've never heard of Freeman. I'm embarrassed to say it. I'll definitely be checking out his website now.
Oh, he's an OG. He's the OG. Oh. He's the one that started all of this. Yeah, it's a great conversation with him tonight. Yeah. He had a lot of information coming down tonight.
Well, I've got a little bit of information, too. Now, ever since this observatory thing broke, ever since, the 6th, I've been trying to reach a friend of mine, and I finally got a hold of him over the weekend. And he's ex-Air Force, and he flew planes, commercial airlines for over 20 years, and he just retired. Okay, he's a captain.
Okay.
And so we grew up going to church together, and so over the last, I'd say, 10 years, boy, has his paradigm shifted, because he was raised the same way I was with Christianity, the whole bit. So his views have changed a lot. So I'm always trying to get information out of him. And he's like, well, I can't, that even if that were true, I can't talk about blah, blah, blah. So finally, I got a hold of him this week, and I said, he goes, oh, I've been waiting for your call. Here we go. He goes, you know what, Deb, I'm going to change something this time. He says, I already know what's coming. He said, so instead of you asking the questions, I'm going to ask you a few questions. I said, okay. He said, so, let's imagine, and these questions are based on things we've already talked about in the past. He goes, let's imagine that there is a secret space force, and there's all kinds of stuff going on up there. Do you think that if all this stuff was going on up there, and they didn't want the planet to see what's going on up there, no matter what part of space it's going on at, do you think there might be an existing technology that helps them manage that? And I said, well, yeah. He says, so whatever you would call it, an invisible force field, whatever you would call it, you believe that would exist. I said, well, yeah, that makes sense. He says, so what if that technology went down? What do you think they would do on the planet? I said, oh, okay. He says, so think about that. He says, and then I have one other question for you. He said, and then that's all we can say about this. I said, all right. And he said, what if all of this was done just as a litmus test to see, because it was covered by the mainstream media too, what the reaction on the planet would be, and the internet especially, just to see how people would react to this. All the theories that would come out of it, if there would be mass panic, whatever, just as a test to see how open are we to contact. What if they did it for that reason? He says, so those are things for you to think about. And I'm not going to say anything else on this topic. He goes, you're lucky you got this much out of me. And that's the most he's ever talked to me about anything doing with space, having to do with space. So last night, when you were talking with Linda Moulton Howe, everything you just said on the phone with Tanette just now, all of a sudden it was just like coming in strong, like at least that part of it, like this was a litmus test, at least partially. I think that was part of the reason. We don't know the whole reason, but I agree with you on that part of it.
Well, let me, going back to the conversation with your friend, he said, what if there was a protection that was built around this planet and it went down? So
right, he says if there's technology up there or advanced spacecraft you're not supposed to see, it would be plausible to assume that there was technology they used up there to manage it. Wouldn't you think that? And I said, yes. He goes, what if it went down? How would they react to that on the planet? And I think what he was implying was, wouldn't they turn off the telescopes or take down the webcams or whatever so that we wouldn't see whatever's up there? Because he also said no matter what part of space that this craft was supposedly in, he was talking about a presumed secret space force.
And so he's your friend.
Yes.
Do you think he was suggesting that he knew about this space force or this protection that is up there for us?
And that's the furthest he see. He won't say any more than that. That was the most I could get out of him, were a form of questions to propose to me. Because whenever I tried to dig deep, he's like, no, I'm asking the questions here. He wouldn't answer any questions. He would only ask me questions to make me think, well, if there was an if there was a secret space force and they were up there and they'd have to use technology to, guard that space force so that we wouldn't see it, what would happen if that, technology went down? How do you think they would react on the planet?
So
I said, well, they'd shut down the telescopes. And he goes, well, there we are. So maybe that's what's happening. He says, I can't say, but I'm asking the questions here. So he put it back on me again.
So
it was very frustrating.
Right. So you said that he was a commercial pilot?
Oh, yeah. For over 20 years, he flew for United and for TWA, and he's also ex-military. He was in the Air Force for at least 15 years.
What does he do?
He used to fly those big, what do they call C-1, those big equipment planes over to Iraq.
C-5A?
Yeah.
C-5A Galaxy. But is he retired now? Do you know that as a fact?
Yeah.
Or could he still be... Could he still be employed?
He says he's retired.
Right.
And believe me, I'm always begging him. He goes, don't use my name. I'm never going to call into your show. I respect what you want to research, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
He says you can repeat the questions, but I'm not going to elaborate. He says, because I can't, Deb, because I can't.
So what do you think he meant when he said it went down? I mean, what? Yeah, no, I understand that part, but I'm asking you, what do you think he meant by asking that question? Our defense system went down? Is that what he's saying?
I think he was asking me if there's like an invisible shield that is technology that the secret space force uses to keep us from visually seeing those craft up there. Let's call it an invisible shield or whatever you might call it. What if the technology that they use for that shield went down, which would enable us to see stuff up there more than what we normally see through night vision? What if it went down?
Now I got what you're saying. Okay,
I'm sorry, I thought I was being clear.
No. But I understand now. So it wasn't some defensive protection. It was blocking of our ability to see something like a flying saucer, some kind of interstellar craft. And
exactly.
if that went down, then we would be open to the curtain, the theater. The curtain would open up.
The veil would, come down. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I think he meant. I'm sorry, and I thought I was communicating it better.
That's okay.
But yeah, that's exactly what I know he meant. And
I think you need to call him back. That's what I think.
Believe me, I wouldn't get any further with him.
Why not?
I wouldn't get any further.
Why not? Just go, look, I was talking to Jimmy last night on the show. I told him about our conversation, and now I've got a couple of more questions. And maybe he'll ask you the questions. But I think the specific thing that needs to be asked, and I'm sure he can appreciate this, is what exactly are you suggesting here? Do you have knowledge that this system is in place? That's the question.
I know. That's the kind of question he won't answer.
Why not?
He'd just laugh and go. He'd just say, "I can't confirm or deny that."
Is he messing with you? Do you think he's messing?
No,
with you?
No, he's not. He's not.
It's just a yes or no, Deb. It's just a yes or no question, and I think he should call into the show.
Oh, he won't. He won't. No way.
Okay.
No way.
Okay. Well, we'll make it.
I've known him for 30 years. I know he's not messing with me. I mean, we have a whole history together. So I know he's not messing with me, but he's really protective.
Why don't you give me his phone number?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. No. That would end a friendship.
Well, if I just want to know. It's just a simple yes or no question. So, okay, you can be our producer at large, and you can call him back and just go, dude, this is just a yes or no question. That's all. Are you suggesting that you know specifically that this is in place? Yes or no? And if he says yes, he says yes. If he says no, he says no. If he says I can't answer, then that means yes, and I'll take that as a yes. It's that simple. Deb, don't be nervous.
That sounds good to me. I'll try.
Don't be.
By the way, I saw your show the other day, and it was great. The Watchers, the first one I saw.
The Unexplained.
Yeah. But your first episode, The Watchers. Yeah, man, you went there too. You totally went there.
Yeah.
All the way. It was great.
I know. And I feel that I didn't want, and the History Channel knew this, and the production company knew this out of the gate, that I did not want to hold back. Okay? And if I was going to have the opportunity to do this and represent myself and Fade to Black in the community, that I wasn't going to play around. And they said, fine. So I did. And going back and watching it, because I hadn't watched it since the editing was done, it had been a long time. I went back and watched it with Rita, and I was like, man, ooh, man.
Yeah.
That went right there. That's not the normal fluff you get on History Channel or any television.
And how long ago? How long ago did you tape those episodes?
2 years, year and a half.
It shows because you look about 30 pounds lighter now on the webcam, and I know TV puts weight on you, but dude, you dropped weight big time. You look good.
All right, Deb, you
look good on TV too, but you really look skinny now.
Thank you so much, Deb. You got a T-shirt coming in the mail. Behave and be well. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Okay, take care. Bye.
Thank you, Deb. We definitely. If you haven't checked out The Unexplained. This Friday, the next 3 episodes are coming up, and whatever your cable provider or satellite or whatever you use, you can go and find it there. And I think it's airing on the East Coast. I think it's 8, 9, and 10 o'clock in the morning, a.m. Okay, so you can just set your DVRs and go and watch them. But yeah, I did. Rita and I watched all 3 episodes, which I never do, but it's high quality programming, and you can really tell when you watch it that a lot of effort was spent on the editing and the graphics and shooting on location and how we did all of it. It is certainly not your normal fluff that you get on A&E or the History Channel. It's very direct and to the point. So there you go. Go check it out. It's called The Unexplained. And that's it. I got to get out of here. Fade to Black's executive producer is Rita Kamurian. Show's produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vito, and Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldridge. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. Thank you to Freeman. Unbelievable conversation tonight. It is freemantv.com. Twitter was on fire. Thank you for everybody that participated there. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2018 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, copied, or downloaded, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tomorrow night, right here on Fade to Black, Clifford Stone talking disclosure. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Until tomorrow night, everybody be safe. Go Beckley Tepe.